Welcome to rpgamepire. I'm David.
I'm Julie.
So now we're going to do the review of Jagged Alliance, the board game. Now keep in mind this review is only based on playing the introductory scenario and reading the introductory rules. So let's do the overview here real quick.
Okay.
So it's a strategy game, 1 to 4 players, 45 to 360 minutes, so it could be up to 6 hours according to Board Game Geek. 14 and up. It has an action point allowance system, campaign, battle card driven, cooperative play, modular board, variable phase order, and it's by Underground Games GBR. So what we do is we come up with our list of what we like and are neutral on or dislike, and we enter it in separately, and we don't know what each other's going to say when we come up with the list.
No, because I type my own thing in now. He doesn't see it at all.
So keep in mind that Julie is not much of a how would you say?
Video game player?
Yeah, video game player or someone that plays a lot of tactical games. So she's more of the type that likes to play family games.
Yep.
So keep that in mind with her list she's about to share with you.
It's not to be mean, that's for sure.
All right.
Okay, my favorite thing is that it's cooperative. If I have to play a game like this, I want to play cooperatively. I couldn't do this on my own.
Yeah, just like the D&D games when we play like Ravenloft and stuff. You're willing to play that.
Yeah. I found the theme, interesting for not being a real big gamer. And that's kind of cool. I like that the women are tough. For me, it was difficult to understand. Even when we've played it twice, I still don't really quite understand what I'm doing. For me, it seemed like more of a solo game. We were playing it together. However, David was doing the majority of the stuff.
Well, I think somebody who's more into these games would make up their own mind on how to do things. You just need a lot of help.
Yeah, I did need a lot of help. And it just took too long for me to learn. And to be honest, I still don't. If you asked me to play this on my own, there's no way I could do it.
Right.
There's just no way.
Well, again, you're not the target audience of this.
But I was happy I tried it, and now I know that it's not really something that I would want to play.
Again, you're not the target audience,
No.
and so that's interesting to keep in mind for anybody if the publisher's watching this, and I'm sure they're aware of that, or for anybody that designs these types of games, you are going to cut out a large segment of the board game population that are not into these games, and I'm sure they knew going into that.
Sure.
That here's the pie of the board game population.
Right.
So maybe you're only meeting this much of it with this type of game, and that's what it is. What it is, all right. It's not a negative.
Nope.
But for Julie, it's not her favorite type of game.
No.
All right. So I am the audience of this game. So for me, I do like it's cooperative because Julie would not play this if it was player versus player.
Nope. No way.
Thematic, it definitely conveys the action movies of the 80s and 90s, and of certain types of video games. It is very strategic. So if you like games where you have to really plan out your moves in order to maximize success, so that way you can avoid injury by the enemies, this is definitely that type of game where you better make sure you're doing certain things in a certain order. Otherwise, if you go out of order and mess up, you could die. All right? It does have a weird scale. So
what does that mean?
That means that if you look at right here, you have these giant miniatures, right?
Yeah.
But the miniatures don't fit the scale of the maps. So it's kind of, they're what are these, 25 millimeter scale miniatures? But the maps are like like a football field to a space. Okay?
Okay.
So in other words, if this were to be the scale, the miniatures would have to be this tiny.
Oh.
That cube to fit the scale.
Oh.
So either make the boards bigger, or the miniature smaller, or do a combination.
Okay.
Okay. Whereas you play Joan of Arc, the miniatures are to scale.
Mm.
When you got the giant dragon and a little guy, that's
big.
the scale.
Yeah, that's true.
If you play Mythic Battles Pantheon, the gods are giant.
True.
And the humans and the mountains, so everything's a scale.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's true.
This is a weird scale.
Yeah. All right, I get that now.
Almost as if the miniatures were an afterthought.
Oh.
Because the miniatures are a low quality. As we did the unboxing, if you look at this here, it's going to be hard for these miniatures to hold paint.
I mean,
not a lot of detail on them. They're very, at best, a 5 out of 10, I would say.
I don't know why you'd want to paint the red guy, because they're called red shirts anyway.
Well, some people will want to paint it, but it's just not high quality.
Oh.
Okay. So then going back to it, so the boards though, that's the biggest disappointment for me. And the reason why I say it's a neutral is because I can deal with it. Let me show you the boards.
Oh, you mean the player boards?
The player boards.
Yeah.
So the player boards are warping.
Oh yeah, look
Okay.
at that.
If I can get them in the picture here. Okay.
Yeah.
And I put some heavy stuff on here.
Yeah.
And I would have to do that again. These don't warp as bad. I can bend them, but the player boards are warping really bad. And so, if you talk to people like Uva of Academy Games, he takes a lot of time to make sure that the people who manufacture his boards have a drying room, so that way they dry out the cardboard before they ship them across the sea.
Okay.
So some manufacturers aren't aware of that, of making sure that the factories do that step. This is why Academy Games boards don't warp after you open them up.
Interesting.
Okay, because he does high quality stuff. So this is probably a situation where a manufacturer is doing their first Kickstarter
Sure.
and not aware of which factory, or they promised them they won't warp, they'll be fine. And then you get it, and what are you going to do? So it's unfortunate for the manufacturer. The manufacturer, I'm sure, did not want to have this happen.
Oh, of course not. I don't think anyone would want it to
And
happen.
so now they're in a situation that if they do another game, are they going to go with the factory they went with?
Right, or go
and
with
make
somebody
sure
different.
Make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
So, but even then, I'm neutral about that because this game works fine without having the best miniatures. And even though the player boards warp a little bit, it doesn't stop you from enjoying the game.
No.
It's just something you would mention to somebody
Yeah.
as to would you want to pay so much for it?
Right.
So the price point, that might prevent somebody from buying it because of these issues.
Sure.
Saying, do I really want to buy it for this much with those issues?
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
So that's something to keep in mind if you're going to buy this game. You're paying for miniatures and for cardboard will warp, and the miniatures aren't that great. So you have to ask yourself, are you still willing to buy it? Okay?
And you might be just because you like this kind of game.
So my biggest complaint, though, it's a narrative style rule book. So this is a decision that, again, when you make rule books, you'll have to decide, and this is a major finding in my dissertation, and it's a major tension with users on Board Game Geek. One of the most commented aspects in the forums was reference versus narrative style. And this is done narrative style. Yes, it reads like a story. You go through it. You have to sit down with it. But then when it comes time to referencing it, it's very hard to find things. It doesn't have an index. Even the player reference sheet doesn't have all the rules on the back. And there's other issues which I'm not going to get into. But the biggest thing is that, yes, it reads very well. And then you're like, okay, what was that again? And what page is that on again? So it takes more effort and time to play this than it needs to be. So that's a major decision that people will make is,
Sure.
do you make it more dry in reference?
Right.
But hey, it's easy to play when you have to look up stuff. In a game this complicated, I argue that you basically do have to make it reference style because there is too many rules to remember. So that's why you see in the rule book here all these little dots here.
Yeah.
Because when I do the how to play video, I'll have to read these again to make sure that I'm not missing anything.
Oh, right.
Whereas opposed to just looking at the back, but not everything's on the back.
Right.
So that is a major negative for me, is that it's a narrative rule book, it's difficult to reference and set up. So it took me longer to set this up because of context. When you look at the very beginning of the rule book, it doesn't even go over all of the components. Okay? So then I'm looking at the scenario, and it references things, names of things, but there's no pictures of what I'm trying to do. So I'm going, okay, what's what?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then I have to look in the rule book later on to figure out what's what.
Oh, gosh.
So even here, it gives you the scenario setup, a generic scenario setup for any type of scenario, but then it doesn't help you for this scenario. So it tells you all the stuff you could set up that's not in the first scenario.
Oh,
so it's
shoot.
like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
If you want me to be successful, if you know I got to read the first 27 pages, why don't you tell me how to set up the first scenario?
Yeah. Well, I could see that'd be very frustrating because you are the rule reader in this family.
Look, and the reason why I point this out is because there's that group, so a lot of gamers aren't going to like this type of game, and then now those who buy it is going to sit on the shelf now. They're going to look at this going, you know what? Okay, I'm reading it. Oh, and then they'll put it down. Put it back on the shelf, and it might not get played. So then this manufacturer, the people who made this game, won't get the positive word of mouth that they were hoping to sell more copies.
Right.
So I would not have, if it wasn't for the fact that this was given to us by a friend of ours who wanted us to do a how to play video and a review and the playthrough, I probably would not have played this as soon as I did.
No.
Okay? I would have looked at it and go like, okay, I'll get to it later. There's 10 other games I can play right now that I don't have to put this much effort.
Right.
And so when there's thousands of games that come out every year.
Jeez.
When you include Essen and United States.
Wow.
And you got to try to get through all that noise. Now, this is going, like I said, some people are going to talk this up and they're going to be for it. They're going to be like, oh, 90s action game, I love it. PC, based on the old PC game. They're going to be like, love it. But then other people will be like, yeah, I'd like to play it, but I don't like the rule book. I don't like the miniatures.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
It is what it is.
And so let's get to now how we ranked it 1 through 10 using the Board Game Geek 1 through 10 rating system.
Okay.
All right, so here we go. All right, so I said it was okay. I will play in the mood, and I actually am looking forward to playing it again if we get 25 likes. Again, I want to see if our subscribers and people who come across this video want to see us do the next. And you know what? I would look forward to playing it again. I don't mind this game so much despite its difficulty. But because of how fiddly it is using this rule book, it's fiddly because of the rule book. I know when we play this again, I'm going to have to reread a bunch of crap again.
Yeah.
Okay, because it will not be in my long-term memory. I'll have to reactivate my working and my short-term memory to play the next scenarios.
Right.
Okay, whereas other games I can take out of the box and play real quick.
And you're good to go.
Good to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Despite that, I do want to play this again.
All right.
But for you, though,
I said not so good. Mainly because I'm not into these kind of games. It's just...
You're not the audience.
I'm not the audience. I mean, I would play it again, obviously, with David, especially if we get, 25 likes. I'm willing to try it again. I doubt that my rating is going to change.
No, it might.
But I am willing to do it again.
One thing I'm worried about you, though, is that the playing time will increase.
And that's going to be really hard for me.
That's going to be really hard for you, yeah.
I get tired very easy, and if it's a long game...
Again, there's that group again. Now, there's certain people who will play these games that want to get done in an hour, and then those who, when you got to play it for 4 to 6 hours,
I won't be able to do it.
It will get smaller and smaller. Yeah. So, there's people that like long games, that like the tactical games, that are willing to overlook this stuff. They're going to give it a higher rating than a 6. I need to play it more in order for this to determine if the rating goes up, and I think it will. I think, like I said, there's a solid game here. It's just too bad that certain things weren't in play to increase that audience size.
Yeah.
Is there a way to make it so it doesn't take 6 hours? Probably.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. You got to play it more to find out.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, this is Jagged Alliance, the board game. And please check out our how to play video and playthrough. And I know we've already said it a few times. Give us 25 likes on any one of those videos, and we'll do the next 2 scenarios, and then I'll do another how to play the advanced rules.
Okay.
And so I'm Julie. I'm David.
I'm Julie, and this is rpgamepire. Yes. Thank you so much for watching.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.